Hello again, friends, and welcome into Gamecock Central Radio Basketball Report with Gamecock great Joe Rhett. I'm Emerson Phillips. The Gamecocks beat Georgia on Wednesday night at home, and we're down to the final three games of the regular season. Joe, we met before the Georgia game talking about the Gamecocks. You know, what feels like outside chances of making the NCAA tournament, but they took that first step, beating Georgia. Carolina with a two-game regular season sweep of the Bulldogs, and Carolina's now beaten Georgia 4 straight. And the Gamecocks hit 13 threes on Wednesday night, Joe. So the first check box checked off, and the Gamecocks now need to win these last three, headed to Mississippi State on Saturday.
Oh, definitely. They checked off all the superlatives that they needed to win this game. Another key point to that game was they got 40 points off the bench the other night, which is amazing. You had Booker come in and play well. Felipe Hazy played a tremendous game, shooting the three, rebounding and playing great defense. You know, with Chris Silva and a little bit of foul trouble, he still was able to pull out a pretty good game. And also the PG again. Again, we're going to always talk about the point guard position. I have to give it to him. I've been riding him a little bit this year, but for Simon Gravett and Myers, they played a really, really good game. And what they did was they didn't turn the ball over. And they both shot the ball well and, you know, made it very, very difficult defensively for Georgia on the other night. You know, another head scratcher, Emerson, when you look at the stats, they only had a few turnovers, which was the key, but it just amazed me how well and how poorly they shoot and pull out these games. Another game where they shot around 30-something% and still won the game, but they shot pretty good from the three the other night. But a lot of misses came from Coach Starr on the inside. He missed a lot of chippies, but overall, this team played really well. They played tough and put out a great win the other night.
Carolina beat Georgia 66-57. The Gamecocks are now 15-13 on the year. They're 6-9 in SEC play. Georgia falls to 15-12, and they're also 6-9 in the league. The Gamecocks hit 13 threes in the ball game, 4 of them from Frank Booker, who finished with 14 points in 34 minutes. Wesley Myers hot from downtown as well, knocking down 5 of 7 threes. Myers finished with 15, and he and Chris Silva both had 15 points in the ball game. It was 15 points and 6 boards for Silva in just 19 minutes of action. And the Gamecocks had 2 other players in double figures. Felipe Hazy hit for 12 points, a couple of threes for Hazy. Joe, he'd been shooting the ball very poorly in SEC play, so it was good to see him make some big shots on Wednesday night.
It was a good game for him. He had a little bit of confidence. With Chris Silva, again, being in foul trouble, he had his opportunity to step up. And, you know, obviously he's a good shooter because you can see several times out of timeout, Frank calls high screens and plays for him to shoot the three. And a lot of bigs are not going to push out on him because they don't think that he can make the shot. He obviously is a good shooter. So that's what you want to see, especially this time of year with the young guys coming in with him, Felipe Hazy, and also Minaya coming in. And you want to have them have a little bit of confidence and playing well during this stretch because, you know, this season isn't over by no means. But you want them guys to have a little bit of confidence so they can do what they need during the summertime and be the leaders that they need to be for the next upcoming season.
The Gamecocks committed just 5 turnovers. That was a season low, and Joe mentioned 17 turnovers for Georgia. So, Joe, you know, 17 turnovers, that's 17 lost possessions, and when you add it all up, that was the difference in the ball game.
Absolutely, that was the difference. We took care of the ball on our end, and we made it extremely difficult for the Georgia team the other night. They were out of their element the other night. They were, you know, a lot of turnovers came from Silva. Those guys were taking charges, and those guys were trying to penetrate to the basket, and you know, this team has a lot of energy. You've seen that from last Saturday, in the last Saturday's game. The energy level has picked up, and I give Frank a lot of credit for that. You know, there was a point during a 6-game losing streak that I thought, you know, this team they just lost their confidence and was almost ready to let the season over with. But somehow he found a way to reach this team and got them to believe that, hey, the season isn't over, then, you know, they can still do some things and, you know, have a good season if they, you know, continue to play well. So they did that, and they're coming out playing well right now. And, you know, again, this is a very tough team when they're playing well, not turning the ball over.
Gamecock bench has been outstanding the last 2 ball games, the win over 10th-ranked Auburn and now this win over Georgia. 43 points for the bench in the win over Auburn, 41 for the Gamecock bench in the victory over the Bulldogs. So Carolina headed now to Mississippi State. The Humphrey the site of Saturday's ball game. We got a 3:30 tip-off on the SEC Network. And, Joe, Mississippi State's playing well right now. They've won 20 games this year. They're 20-8 coming in. It's their first 20-win season since 2012. And they're currently in a six-way logjam, six-way tie for third place in the SEC. So Mississippi State's still very much alive for an NCAA tournament berth. And, Joe, they can finish in the top four in the SEC's final regular season standings, which would give them a double bye in the SEC tournament. So Mississippi State's playing well. They won 2 in a row coming in. Last 2 games they beat Mississippi, and they won by 12 on the road against a good Texas A&M team. So the Bulldogs are hot coming in.
Not a surprise. We spoke earlier about how well the SEC is this year, and I attribute that to the coaching. We have a lot of great coaches, and Ben Holland is one of those guys that has taken this Mississippi State team to another level. They're fighting for, position in the SEC tournament, also still trying to fight. Well, I wouldn't say fighting for NCAA berth. I think with their resume and what they got left, I think they'll be in. So they still have a lot to play for, and it's all about positioning. So USC going to have their hands full, especially playing at Mississippi State. They're a tough team down there, and they beat us by 5 or 6 earlier this year, I believe. And it's going to be a tough game for us, but if we do what we need to do, I think we can pull it out.
Yeah, Mississippi State came to Columbia and beat the Gamecocks at the Colonial Life just a couple of weeks ago, and now the Gamecocks make the return trip to Starkville, where Mississippi State is 17-1 at home this year. And, Joe, I know that the Bulldogs are concerned about Chris Silva, one of the top big men, not only in the SEC but in the country, but Mississippi State will counter Silva with Eric Holman and Abdul Abdu. They got a couple of good big men in their own right, and they feel like that's a pretty good matchup for them with their 2 bigs going against Chris Silva.
Absolutely. It's going to be a good matchup. It was a good matchup earlier this year between those guys. And they make it very difficult for Chris Silva. And he has to, of course, stay out of foul trouble. Sometimes you get worried when you get in foul trouble, but they, the other night against Georgia, the guys came in and held their own while he was out. But against this Mississippi State team, he's going to have his hands full, and Felipe Haas and Mike Kosar as well going to have their hands full. So we just have to play tough. Just don't let those guys dominate us and push them out of their comfort zone. Don't let them beat you to the box. Don't let them, get easy baskets, box out, get rebounds. Don't let them get offensive rebounds, get them going. So if we could do that and keep those guys at bay, I think we will really have a good chance of containing them on the inside on Saturday afternoon.
Joe Lunardi projecting 8 SEC teams into the NCAA tournament right now, and we check the SEC standings. Auburn 12-3, Tennessee 10-5. Auburn's ranked 12th, Tennessee ranked 19th in the country, and then 6 teams tied for third: Mississippi State, Kentucky, Arkansas, Missouri, Florida, and Alabama, all 8-7 in the league. LSU is 7-8. Gamecocks in a 3-way tie at 6-9 with Texas A&M and Georgia, and it's Ole Miss and Vanderbilt bringing up the rear in the conference at 5-10. So 3 games left, Joe, at Mississippi State. Tough test for the Gamecocks, and then they're going to have the last 2 games of the regular season, home against LSU and at Auburn. So, again, Carolina, has got to make a run late in the season here. The Gamecocks starting to play better ball of late, and Frank Martin said during his press conference this week that point guard play has been improved. Joe, Corey Holden left the team last week. We heard about that in the release from the athletic department, and what has happened is Sonny Gravett and Wesley Myers have emerged as the top 2 point guards, and those 2 have gotten better as the season has gone on, and that was a real problem for the Gamecocks early. And now that those 2 are playing better, the Gamecocks are starting to win some games.
Yeah, I don't know what to give that to, but maybe they're not looking over their shoulder no more. They know it's just those 2, and they have to do it between those 2. So I hate what happened to the kid that he had to leave, but maybe it's a blessing in the skies where these guys know that it's upon them and they have to do what they need to do to solidify us and contain us at the point guard position. But you talk about the SEC again. This is going to be a tough stretch for everybody in this league right now. Everybody are jockeying for position. The last week and a half will be tough for everybody. So anybody, a couple of losses can change the standards just like that. So everybody's trying to, finish the season up strong so they can, mainly a lot of people in the first 4, like you said, want that break during the SEC. They want to be off until Thursday or Friday instead of playing 5 or 6 games to try to get to the SEC championship on that week. So it's exciting, man. This is the best I've seen the SEC in a long time, and to see so many teams having a chance to make the tournament, it gives me a lot of pride to see that this league has gotten so much better, along with the players, along with coaching, and just everything around the board.
All right, Mississippi State's got 2 of its last 3 at home. They've got Tennessee at home next week, and then they will close out the regular year at LSU. The Gamecocks will host LSU next week, and they will finish up the season, the regular year, at Auburn next week. So we got a 3:30 tip-off for the Gamecocks and the Mississippi State Bulldogs. It'll be in Starkville on Saturday, and it'll be on the SEC Network. Huge game for Carolina, Joe. The Gamecocks, we feel like, can still get in the NCAA tournament, but they really can't afford another loss.
Can't afford another loss, but, hey, again, like we spoke the other day, just take one game at a time, and that means just take care of Mississippi State on tomorrow, and we'll go from there. So if we, main thing again, take care of the ball. Do not turn the ball over, especially on the road. When you start turning the ball over and playing a hostile environment down there in Starkville, it can be very tough, especially with a somewhat young team that we have. So if we take care of the ball, I think we'll be in the game. And, seemingly when we have these close games, somehow Frank knows how to call the right plays, and we seem to pull him out lately. So hopefully we can continue that on tomorrow.
Mississippi State 17-1 at home, so a tall order for the Gamecocks. But if Carolina could get this win, it would be another quality win as the Gamecocks try to build this NCAA tournament. So resume. So Joe, looking forward to tomorrow's ball game, and we'll talk with you again next week. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Emerson.
That's Gamecock great Joe Rhett, and I'm Emerson Phillips, and this is Gamecock Central Radio. Back next week to talk more Gamecock basketball.